Got a little something to show you here, cowpokes. You know, my Gothic Western graphic novel, Ghost of the Badlands, has been absolutely killing it. Topped out in a bunch of categories when the mass market version, which is right here, was available on Amazon. But of course, the star of the show is the Indiegogo versions, which you guys unlocked. They're totally different from this, by the way. You can see the size difference. This is the Monochrome paperback. This is the Monochrome Deluxe. And you can just see right here, my goodness. I mean, the artwork's fantastic in the mass market, but hello, look at this beauty. Look how beautiful and oversized and how deep the blacks are. It's fantastic. It's also got the prose story that you guys unlocked and a bunch of other extra stuff. But folks, you unlocked more than just the prose story. You also unlocked the color edition. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to flip on through and show you what you're going to be getting. They're starting printing very soon, I think on Monday, and then they'll be shipping shortly thereafter. I know George has been calling in some backup. I wish I were closer to him. I'd love to help him because it's a lot of work. He's been doing a great job. Show him some love. But when we unlocked the color edition, we were in a little bit of a pickle. See, I had only ever intended it to be a black and white comic, but when you guys just blew that campaign up, it was like, okay, now we got to do color. How are we going to do it? Well, inspired by some of my favorite comics, Ron Garney's superb Daredevil run in 2015 with Charles Soule, for example, Matt Wagner's The Shadow, the Death of Margot Lane, I went with a muted, sort of expressionist color palette, where like individual scenes have their own sort of self-contained color palette, and it's all sort of muted a little bit. You never see a pure red, you see more of a burgundy, you see pale blues, pale, almost puke greens, right? Those kind of colors. You guys will see what I'm talking about. Also, this is actually my artwork. There's some of my artwork in this. This is the first graphic novel, by the way, that I've only written. I started out as a comic book artist. George, though, has done such a superb job. My God, I plan to work with him again. So here's your a good example of what I'm talking about. You got kind of a pale blue and a sepia going on here. This is what we went with. We didn't want this to look like every other comic on the shelf. You can see it's super oversized, like European comics, very inspired by that. And this is the opening scene. A lot of you guys would have seen this in Anvil, the Iron Age magazine, which you guys should be checking out. It's fantastic. Got some great short stories and comics in there. And Ghost of the Badlands was previewed. The first print edition of Ghost of the Badlands was previewed in the pages of that comic. And it was a different draft of the script, too. So, kind of a collector's edition, if this ever winds up being a big deal. And this here is the sequence showing the recruitment of Righty Redstone. Sort of inspired by 30s and 40s pulp characters. The Spider, Ghost Super Detective, the Shadow, where back in the 30s and 40s you couldn't just suspend disbelief by saying, oh, superheroes, right? Nobody understood what a superhero was because they were still sort of being invented. So you sort of had to answer the question that any rational person would be asking, which is, how does one guy fight all of crime? And the answer in the pulp age was, he doesn't. He has a whole network of people who help him do that. The Shadow was one of those. The Spider did that. Doc Savage had his Fabulous Five, and on and on and on. Secret Agent X, Phantom Detective did as well. They always had someone who was helping them because you couldn't insult the audience's intelligence by just saying, gamma rays fell from the sky. You actually kind of had to explain it. So we're returning to that a little bit. The Ghost has his network of what he calls missionaries, and so he's kind of got that hellfire and brimstone religious aspect to having that. And here's a good example of what I'm talking about. Sort of pale, grayish sort of greens here. This scene is set in the woods of Flagstaff, a place I have camped many a time. And indeed, George did a great job going out there by himself, by the way, going out there and just zen, feeling the texture of the soil, seeing the woods. I think he went out to like a library and checked out microfilms of old newspapers and stuff. And Flagstaff may or may not be featured in future volumes, if we get future volumes. But yeah, I don't want to spoil too much, but you guys will enjoy your color editions. You know, I understand we wanted black and white to start with, but once you guys unlocked color, we wanted you to get your money's worth. We didn't want anyone to feel shortchanged on that, and I think you will agree when you get a hold of this, you weren't. Not only are you getting this story, but you guys unlocked the prose story, illustrated by me. It's called As Wax Before Flame, just a little 3-chapter thing. Very pulpy. It's even formatted like an old pulp. And it has some of my... has some of my artwork. It features this character right here, who's the previous sheriff of Canyon Diablo. And yeah, all this is actually my art and my words. So I hope you guys enjoy it very, very much. It is going to be shipping shortly after Monday. I believe it's printing. So, folks, until next time, beware the ghost.